Hey everyone, in today's video, I wanted to talk about something a little different for those of you who are familiar with the channel, but something nonetheless I really enjoy. It's why I enjoy Dead Island 2. Now, this game has been in, let's just say, a long development cycle, going all the way back to probably right after the release of Dead Island Riptide back in 2013. And then we had that awesome E3 video showing and announcing Dead Island 2, and it's been almost 10 years since the release of Dead Island Riptide, in between then and now the current release of Dead Island 2. Despite its long development cycle, I'm really pleased that Dead Island 2 has finally been released, and in this video I'm going to break down why I enjoyed the game so much. Just as a quick heads up, I think it's important for you to know that the game key was provided to me by the publisher, so I don't know if you'll consider this a biased video piece or not, but I just figured that would be important information for you to know as you watch this video. So here's one of the first things that really blew me away with Dead Island 2. It was that the physics of the melee combat is simply incredible in Dead Island 2. You can actually watch the limbs of the zombies really disintegrate depending on which weapon you're beating them with. It's really, morbid, but it's hilarious and awesome to see. As you stab a zombie's arm, you'll watch more of their skin fall off, and or if you hit them with a baseball bat or a pipe enough, you can actually see the bones start sticking out of their arm, or you can hit them in the face enough, and maybe even their jaw will fall off. I mean, it's really incredible stuff. And it seems like every time that you interact with a zombie using different weapons or even a different area of where you're going to attack the zombie, you get kind of a different experience. Their clothes will fall, their shirt will tear as you hit them with a sword or, some sort of blade. And there's some really hilarious videos on Twitter of some of the things that people are doing, like shoving a zombie into a bathroom stall and like tossing a grenade, and the blood just explodes all over the wall and stuff. I mean, it's really awesome stuff. And I gotta be honest, it's really nothing I've seen in other zombie games before. I mean, yes, I have seen other great zombie physics in games, but really nothing like this. So I'm really excited about that. Something else I really enjoyed is the combat overall feels and interacts very similar to the first game with enhancements. So one thing that kind of really helped the first game stand apart was that it offered you to throw your weapons, you could kick the zombies to get them off of you, you could customize your weapons and do a whole lot with, really, I guess you would call it the gameplay loop, or the sandbox as some people call it. And Dead Island 2 really enhances that, but doesn't really try to reinvent the wheel. And that's something I think I can really appreciate. If it's not broken, don't fix it, but they decided to really enhance it. I think like the drop kick ability is really cool, and you can block or counter a zombie attack now. And so you're always kind of calculating what sort of moveset do you want to use against a zombie, because everything kind of has a downside. If you attack too much, that leaves you open to no defense, where you can get attacked from other angles. If you defend too much, depending on the zombie type, that's not going to be as effective, so on and so forth. I thought that was just really interesting that they decided to stick with a similar formula despite how old the original games are. I also think Dead Island 2 really continues the story of the first game in some ways. I don't think it's really a spoiler to say within the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game, you see there's major callbacks to the first Dead Island game, and in fact, you even see some characters from the first Dead Island game. What I appreciate, though, is it doesn't require you to play these games, Dead Island 1 and Dead Island Riptide, in order to enjoy or understand the experience of Dead Island 2, but I think for fans, there are a lot of callbacks. And speaking of Easter eggs, there's plenty of Easter eggs in this game. Everything from Dambuster Studios, the developer of Dead Island 2, they also made, their previous game was Homefront the Revolution, and you can find arcade machines featuring Homefront the Revolution in various arcades, which I thought was really cool. There's so many Easter eggs in here, I love it. A few other smaller pieces of note that I thought was really interesting is that, like the first game, you can play it in solo or co-op. The game really doesn't care in which way that you play it. I also really enjoyed that it has an easy platinum trophy, or I guess easy for 100% completion if you're on Xbox. But if you're on PlayStation, there actually is the auto pop from PS4 to PS5. That means if you play the PS4 version and let's say whatever trophies you get, or you get the platinum, and then you fire up the PS5 version and transfer your save data, you're going to get all those trophies all over again for the PS5. So really 2 trophy sets in one if you go the PS4 to PS5 route. And I think that's something that's really awesome for trophy hunters and something that isn't necessary but well appreciated. I also really like that there's great voice acting. The cutscenes are really fluid. The weapon customization, again, is hilarious and it's awesome. The game overall is beautiful. It runs at 60 frames per second on PS5. And it didn't really forget its roots. And what I mean by this, again, is the gameplay loop is so similar to the first games. It really makes you feel at home, but I think it still impacts you in such a way that it's a step up and it makes it feel modern and fresh. Finally, I think one of the coolest things that I really enjoy about this is the level design or the world design of Dead Island 2. I think the game not going the full open world route that some games kind of do is actually a positive in my book. Instead, what they opted to do is open areas, if you will. And they're not big areas like you would find in a Borderlands game, but I'll give you an example. The first main area that you're able to explore is the Bel Air neighborhood. And there's like 3 or 4 mansions around here that you can kind of walk in, kill all the zombies, loot the houses, get new weapons, so on and so forth. But I think what's really cool is they add almost miniature Easter egg stories into the open world, and it's there for you to explore and learn more if you really want to. It's not required, but it just enhances your experience of the world. And I'll give you an example. There is a mansion like right after you leave the beginning of the game, and it's clear that this is a mansion for content creators. All around you're seeing computer screens, and there's whiteboards with how to build more content. There's even like a recording studio, and it has their brand on like really professional gaming chairs. There's high-end PCs everywhere, and then there's like content creator rewards or plaques plastered all over the house. You can just tell that kids or millennials live here that have reached content creator fame. And there's like audio logs or even journals hidden around this mansion talking about their content creator strategy and all these things. And there's one audio log where they're like talking about, is the zombie outbreak a real thing? And then you can kind of hear zombies break through and eat both of the hosts. Well, as you continue through this mansion, you can actually find both the hosts of this content creator show infected, and you can, kill them or leave them alone. It's really up to you. So I just thought that was really cool. Like, you could just run in there and kill all the zombies and not really need to know that entire story. But if you really wanted to investigate each individual room or each individual area in this in the Bel Air neighborhood, it totally allows you to do that. And I think you kind of get a little bit more, more out of it, which I thought was really, really cool. A little bit more experience, if you will, of this world that has been created in Dead Island 2. The game isn't perfect. I think there's some things that can be improved upon. I think there's some times where I get a little lost. I'm not really quite sure where I need to go. Sometimes maybe the zombie level scaling seems a little bit off. There's like an area where I feel I'm really overpowered, or I feel like I'm really underpowered, depending on what's going on. And I think those are all little things that can be fixed with time. And I ran into a couple of bugs as well, where like my guy wouldn't do the drop kick thing, or he wouldn't throw canisters. But I think a simple reload into my save fixed those issues. So you got to also be impressed that the game doesn't have any major issues on launch, which unfortunately is rare these days. But that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I really enjoy Dead Island 2. As a reminder, I received a key from the publisher for this game, so you can consider this a biased video, but take with it what you will and do your own research and see if this is the kind of game that you really enjoy. Solo or co-op, I think you're going to have a good time in Dead Island 2. Well, I've streamed Dead Island 2 a couple of times on my Twitch page. There's a link to that down below. But if this is your first time on the channel, we're really known for Halo and Halo Wars and other RTS games like Age of Empires. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to check out all the great content on the channel. Well, finally, let me know your thoughts on Dead Island 2 in the comments down below. Is this a game that you think you're going to pick up? You're going to wait for it to go on sale? Or you're never going to buy this at all? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you, James.